Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get the reality. Albert Einstein, and one of my favorite quotes. Today, we're going to be talking about money energy, the energy of money. And this is a big one. So, we get all mixed up in our thoughts and feelings about money because we don't have enough, we have more bills and we have more money. Money is a stressful topic, right? It affects our possibilities, what we can buy, what we can't buy. It puts stress on relationships, causes divorce. I don't need to go on and on. We know how stressful money can be if you don't have enough of it. But the thing is, we really need to understand what money is. And it is not just a currency that we exchange for a product and service. It's actually a form of energy that we exchange. So come with me on this journey here because this is an important one. And the funny thing is, I couldn't quite explain this in my earlier years of business. 17 years ago, there weren't as many videos about the energy of money, the frequency, your vibration as there are now, which is an amazing thing to see. So you look at money. How do you make money? Well, first off, the most common way that people make money is through exchanging our time for a wage, whether it's an hourly wage or a salary. We make money by exchanging our time for money. Well, what is our time? Our time is us showing up, giving our energy, and doing something. Notice energy. Money is energy. So if we want to make more money, what are the ways that we can do it? Well, you can work more. You can increase your skill set to have your wage be worth more because you're worth more to the company. And then I'd say third one would be investing. And then fourth would be to have a company that provides a product or service. But at the end of the day, people exchange their money, their currency, for something that they want, right? For a time, for a product, or for service. Money is simply energy exchanged. If you recall from previous videos, I've done the reality creation framework a few times. And this is important because it goes into money and money energy. So our thoughts and beliefs form our energy and our feeling causes our action, and our action causes our results. So here, the feeling is the magical one that most people miss. If you're thinking and believing incorrectly, you're going to feel a certain way. And then because you feel a certain way, you act a certain way. And because you act a certain way, you get certain results. And money is attracted to a high vibration. So let's go here. Feeling. Feeling is energy. It is vibration. It is frequency. And we don't attract what we want. We attract who we are. And who are we? We are energy, vibration, frequency. So let's think back here. Thoughts and beliefs. If you come from poverty or middle class and struggle, you probably hold the belief that money is bad, money is hard to come by, money may be evil. So what happens? Because you've grown up in lack and limitation and struggle, your thoughts and beliefs are lack, limitation, struggle, money, bad. How do you feel? All of those things I just said. Money is evil. Money is hard to come by. Money is yuck. Money causes divorce. Money causes fights. So then how are you feeling? I need you to understand one of the biggest and most important things with money and with creating your reality is your feeling. And we're not taught to manage our vibration, our energy, our feeling. And we go around the world reacting every day to what we see, becoming a victim and throwing out bad energy. So if we want to pattern interrupt, we need to get new thoughts and beliefs. So we create a new feeling that is good about money, right? So new thoughts and belief. Money is just an energetic exchange for a product or service or time. Money's neutral. Money's not good or bad. It's an energetic exchange. Think back to the old days. They used to exchange fish for sheep for clothing. What if I grabbed a bag of potatoes and paid you in potatoes for something that you did? Are we going to say, oh my God, potatoes are horrible. They're mean. They're like evil. Potatoes cause divorce. No. See, money and potatoes are a currency, a form of energy to show appreciation, gratitude, thank you, payment to another person for a product or service that they're giving us. We're not going to hate potatoes unless you hate potatoes. But you know what I mean. Energy is just a form of currency, which is a form of energy. So we need to get right in our thoughts about our money, right? Our thoughts, our beliefs. If we think money is bad, we feel that, we repel money. And then not only that, because money is bad and we don't want to get too much of it, we don't take actions subconsciously to make more money. What if you wanted a raise and you really, really, really want to make more money, but you know that by getting a raise, you're going to become the manager of your peers, and our deepest belonging as humans is to belong. So if all of a sudden you become the manager, you no longer belong. You are now the boss, and you're now an outcast. So if you feel like money is bad, you're not going to take the actions to get the raise or make more money, and then you don't get the results, right? It's pretty simple. Money is black and white. It's an energy. It's not good or bad. It is just a tool. And the other thing that people like to put on us is the fact that money is evil. Money makes people do bad things. Well, let's look at it this way. Do you know some rich people that are bad? Okay, probably we do. Look in the news, right? But do we know some poor people that are bad? Don't we? Money doesn't make you anything that you are not already. If you're a bad person and you get money, you're going to be more of a bad person. If you are a great person and you are giving and you get more money, it is just going to amplify who you are. So you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. Who you are is your vibration, your feeling, your energy, your frequency, and that has to align with money. If you look at money, much like water always goes downhill, money always goes to high vibration people because money is high vibration. So if you look at it this way, very practically, let's say you have two salespeople, and these two salespeople are coming to sell you something. Sally Downer shows up at your office and she could hardly care about the product that you're trying to sell her. And all she wants to do is complain about a mutual friend that you have, right? And then she has a very low vibration. You could tell she's not passionate about the product. Very low energy. She doesn't have a high vibration, no excitement, no desire, no passion for what she's trying to sell you. Then let's say Tina, the tremendous sales lady, comes in and she absolutely loves the product because it's changed her life. She has a high energy, a high vibration. You can feel her high frequency. So, very practically, you are going to spend your money with one of them. You need the product, right? These two salespeople come in. Very practically, who's it going to be? Let's say you're friends with both of them and all things are equal, all price, all product details, everything's equal. Well, you're going to buy with Tina, the tremendous salesman, and not Sally, the Debbie Downer. Why? Because Tina has a high vibration. She's going to attract you. She's going to put off a frequency of success, of giving, of an abundance. So that is a very practical example of how money is attracted to a high vibration. Very practical right there. So if you are walking around, you, me, anybody, and we're thinking that we are a victim of our circumstances, that's our thoughts and our beliefs. We're never going to be rich. We're destined to be poor. Poor me. That's how we're going to feel. And that's the vibration. Don't we all know that person that comes in and you're like, oh, them again. All I'm going to hear is an hour of their problems. It's not that we lack compassion, but you just know that that person always has nothing but bad things to say. Versus, let's say there's a dynamic individual that comes in, that says nice things, that cares about you, that has a high vibe. There's another word we're more familiar with. Money is attracted to a high vibration. Okay. So if we want to attract money and if we want to do good in our life, we need to raise our feelings to positive, to excitement, to love, to anticipation, to hope, instead of being in low frequency states like scarcity, fear, anger, victimhood, resentment, bitterness. What other ones? There's, I'd say probably a few people, but there's, I think, a David Hawkins and then Abraham Hicks. They both have this energy scale. And if you ever want to look it up, I'm sure you can Google it. At the very bottom are going to be all the bad emotions, bad, good. They all serve their purpose, but they're lower vibration. And I think that's pretty safe to say. Energy is very tangible. And especially nowadays, so many people are in tune. They call themselves empaths. I'm sensitive to energy. Money energy is the same. If you are a victim, if you're in scarcity and fear, anger, just the same as in a relationship with somebody, you're going to put that vibe off and they're either going to be attracted or just totally thrown off and propelled from you, right? Just think of that negative person that comes in. It's like, oh, right? Or versus that person that comes in that's super exciting and magnetic, right? There's another word. So if you are on a journey to make more money, which you will be if you are listening to this channel, one of the most important things to work on, thoughts and beliefs, that's where it all stems. Working on your money mindset, your limiting beliefs, getting right with money, knowing that money is just a tool. It's not good or bad. It doesn't make you good or bad. It makes you more of what you are because it's an amplifier. If you focus on your thoughts and beliefs, you're going to get a better feeling. And a better feeling will always attract better results. Before I used to go on sales calls, long before I even knew how to put this into words, I would always pull out either on my computer before a sales call or a sales call in person. I would always look at pictures of travel. I didn't know necessarily the wording and the mechanics of what I was doing. I was just naturally trying to get excited. I understood the game without the words, without the reality creation framework, without all this wording about frequency and vibration and vibe. I just understood this intuitively that when you show up in a positive state, excited, focused on the person you're serving with abundance and giving, I just knew that I'd be in the right energy to sell. When I was in the right energy to sell, guess what happened? Money came right to me because I attracted it. But here's a prime example. When I was doing sales calls back in the day before email marketing, and I was in a bad vibe, bad mood for whatever reason, in the early days, I'm like, okay, I got to make my sales calls today. I got to do it. I'd pick up the phone. And I mastered my voice. I mustered it up, but my internal vibration, feeling, energy, frequency was off. It wasn't how I would be if I got myself in this state of abundance and exciting servitude to my client. Here, I'm trying, but my vibe was off. I would phone people, and guess what? I swear to goodness gracious, my vibration traveled over that phone line through the waves and right to those people. Guaranteed every single time. And then I would go like, whoa, what's up with these people? They're really cranky, right? Hang up, work on my vibration, call. Wow, everybody's so amazing. And then in person, you show up as a grouch to an office. Oh, people are just grouchy. Or you show up high vibe in the flow after you made a sale or something great happened in life. You know how that is. Think of when you're really sad or mad or scared and how you operate in your day. Now, think of one of these really good days you've had lately, and then you show up somewhere. You show up to work, you go somewhere, and everything happens perfectly. All the lights are green. Everybody's happy. You get a windfall. Here's the crazy thing. Believe it or not, your frequency is going out long before you, putting out vibes and bouncing off other people. So if you show up as a grouch, you often get grouch back. If you show up with high energy and excitement, that's what you get back. And same thing with money. Think of money as a person that you love. If you spoke to a person you really loved, what's your feeling? Now think of somebody you really dislike. What's your feeling on the inside? Now pretend that person is money. Money is getting your vibe. I know this all sounds woo-woo, and for so many years, I did this without actually realizing what I was doing. I was getting excited to make the sale, but little did I realize I was changing my energy and frequency so that I showed up and put that out. I didn't understand the mechanics. I just did it to make sales, to make my company go. And I slowly started to realize that how I show up is how people react. How I show up is the frequency. My vibe in life also directly impacts the energy that comes in. If I'm in a bad spell in personal or in business, I always like to say in my gut, I have this like fiery feeling when I'm on and when things are going good. I call it my little manifester. But then I noticed when things weren't going good, it was like a wet blanket on a fire, the fire being my manifester on the inside, my vibe. So when the wet blanket was there, it's like I couldn't even attract, create, generate any sales. Sure enough, I went back to the drawing board, worked on my vibe and my frequency, got myself excited, even though I was mad, upset, sad about something. I went ahead of myself and fixed my vibration to change the outcome. This is a whole lot of woo-woo, but here's the thing. No matter what you do in your life, if you have the wrong vibration, energy, frequency, vibe, you are not going to get the results you want. It's as simple as that. So when you are fully familiar with the way energy flows, the energy of money, and then you get to work as your best self with a high vibe, you're going to attract more opportunities. You're going to attract raises from your boss because you're putting off a great vibe. Now, if you're in the business setting and you are on the phone, email marketing, meeting with clients in person, and you have the right vibe and the right actions, you start to make more money. That's why the whole reality creation framework is important. And you can make money with one part not working, but if you really want to hit maximum flow, you need the correct thoughts and beliefs because that gives you the right feeling from right knowledge. And then when you have the right feeling, you're putting out that right vibe frequency, right? You're putting that out. You're showing up with the right energy. Not only that, for the outside, but when you have the right feeling, you're fired up. And when you're fired up, you take the right action. And then when you take the right action, you get the right result. Every day you create your reality, whether you know it or not. And when you're doing it with right knowledge, right feeling, right action, you start to get the results that you want. Why don't they teach us this? Huh? 333 on my computer. I must have hit it right perfectly there. A little synchronicity with 333. So I hope that makes sense. They don't teach us this stuff in school at all. And to be honest, this is more of a nowadays conversation. I mean, it's all very spiritual and energetic now. And actually, the danger with that is a lot of people get into that manifesting world, into energy and frequency, and think they don't have to take action. And yes, we'll do the apologetics because you can manifest and you can attract and you can put out the vibe that will manifest things without actually moving. Yes, you can. But let's acknowledge it that it's going to be few and far between. It's going to be synchronicities unless you have a strong vehicle for wealth. If you have a business that is set up to be online, that has an automatic system where people can order and buy the product and then get email marketing and follow up and fulfillment, you can probably sit at home on your couch, get in right thought, right vibration, and then use manifestation. But if you don't have a vehicle for wealth, your attractions are going to be fewer and far between. And that's why in previous videos, I say energy, money, business, success is very much earned happening on three planes: the metaphysical, which would be the law of attraction, which would be prayer, which would be law of assumption, all the 12 laws, right? Law of attraction, manifestation, all of that stuff. That's the metaphysical. And then there's the mindset, and then there is the physical. And if you want to maximize your life and get peak money, you need peak money energy. And that comes from the three planes and corresponding right with the reality creation framework. It is all one and the same. You need to be thinking correctly, right? Working on your limiting beliefs, your mindsets. You got to have right thought about money. You got to be of service and knowing what you're doing and believing in yourself. And then you need to be acting, whether that is taking your body to a workplace to make money, or whether that is creating a product or service through a company. When you realize that money is energy and you enact the three planes and you're doing the steps of reality creation, that is how you that is how you hit peak money flow. People don't tell us this. And if they do, they'll talk about one end of it. Manifest. You need to do the law of assumption. You need to live in the wish fulfilled. But what the heck does that mean? It takes a long time to figure that out. And then by the time you do, you're me and you're going, oh my goodness, you got to live in the wish fulfilled. That doesn't mean I'm saying I want to be a millionaire and sitting on the couch playing Xbox. That means we're living in the wish fulfilled, the end result. I want to be that $1 million business person. But you don't just get there thinking about it. You get there doing work on your money story, your limiting beliefs, your mindset. You get there by either working and trying to make $1 million, which is hard to do because your time is maxed out for money, right? So if you want to make $1 million, you probably have to start a business or be an incredibly top CEO at a Fortune 500 company or an incredibly amazing tech or salesperson. Going to business, if you're working on your mindset, which is a never-ending game, and realizing that money is energy, and if you want money, you need to exchange something for people's currency, you realize that you need to start a business and sell your time or a service or a product. If I sound repetitive, I apologize. Technically, I could put one video on this channel and just say, watch us, watch us. And it's not to be like this. It's just nobody pulls together the woo and the do of money, the boots on the ground, the head in the clouds. You need all three. You can have small successes with one or the other. Like you can work really hard, but if you have a terrible mindset, you're just going to self-sabotage and blow all your money. Like you might be an amazing salesperson, but if you think money is evil and bad and you don't want to show up with money, you're going to self-sabotage. Go to the casino and blow it because you don't want to be rich in a family that came from poverty because you think, limiting belief, that the herd is going to kick you out. So you do everything you can to repel wealth so that you belong to the pack. It is an instinct as old as time. Nobody teaches you that. You got to have the right mindset. You got to be doing the right actions. And then when you're doing that, the universe shows up and says, go girl, go guy. We see you are doing the work. You're showing up. You're delivering. We're going to help. And then they sprinkle on the magic of law of attraction, law of assumption, cause and effect, the law of compensation. All those beautiful laws of the universe come into play when you are showing up and playing the game of money. So let's round home with some energy cleanup best practices. In order to make money, you have to have a high vibe. So you're like, well, Tracy, how do I have a high vibe? I am who I am. I don't understand this. A high vibe really just means feeling good. And here's the thing. We are taught that life is supposed to be a struggle, that we're supposed to put the nose to the ground, do the grind, work hard, get our pension, and die. Well, hopefully travel on your retirement before you die. So we're taught a bit of that life is a struggle mindset. And hey, it is. When we don't know how to make money and we're in survival mode, it is survival. And the problem is we need to get ahead of our energy and create in our mind and physically the energy of where we want to be and start acting that out to change it. So if we think we can't be rich, we go through that circuit. Let's say you go, okay, Tracy says I can do this, and there's a lot of poor people that have got rich. I'm just going to suspend my limiting beliefs and doubts. Ooh, that feels better. Ooh, okay, I'm feeling some hope. I'm going to go take a course on how to start an online business. And then you move your life ahead. Like I said, takes a while to sort through your old thoughts, beliefs, and reality. You created this reality. I'm turning 43 right away. 43 years to create the life I'm in. It's not going to change tomorrow. Hopefully not, because that's going to be something so dramatic. Either the lottery, it's going to be illness, it's going to be death, it's going to be something dramatic. Life is beautifully constructed so that our thoughts don't immediately become our reality. Because if everything we thought became reality, that'd be kind of scary. We have a lot of bad thoughts, don't we? Even if we're good people. We have a lot of thoughts of lack and limitation. We'd lose everything if we go, oh my God, I'm going to go broke. And then your house disappears. That wouldn't be good, right? So your vibe, your energy, your frequency really is just determined by how you feel about life. Get some right thoughts, get some hope, get some goals, get some optimism. Release the fact that life doesn't have to be a struggle. It may be, but you're working on a future where it isn't. And there's a lot of people that don't live in struggle. There's many more that do, but if you're putting your eye on the prize of financial independence, think about that. And then you're going to feel optimistic. That's how you elevate your frequency. Like I did before I went out on sales calls. I love to travel. So I would download screensavers from the internet way back 17 years ago and put them on my computer, and I'd stare at that picture before I did sales calls. And I would get good and excited because these sales calls and the sales I made were going to get me on that trip. So I would muster up that energy, raise my vibration, and then I would call, I'd put that out. So you need to feel good. Contrary to what church, the media, your family, reality tells you, you need to feel good before things get good. It's a leading lagging factor. If you're waiting for things to get good to feel good, you're never going to do good because you need to be it before you have it. Feel good. And you're not fooling yourself that you're rich and you're doing great. You are changing your vibration because you know you are a powerful creator in charge of your reality. And with every day and every action, you are changing your destiny for yourself, your family, and your future generations. That's enough to get excited about. What's another one? Garbage in, garbage out. If you are hanging around negative Nellies all the time, you absorb their vibe. We've gone over that. If all you do is listen to the news, you're never going to succeed because they haven't had a good story in how long, right? And unfortunately, I don't think there's a really good news channel out there dedicated to great news. That's not the design. The society is, and people don't like this, but everything's set up to rob you of your 5 most precious resources. And most importantly, your 5 most important resources are your focus, your time, your energy, your money, and your love. So if you're watching the news, feel it, do it. Go on the news or go on social media. Be your own scientist in your body. Do the doom scroll on social media tonight. Now feel how you feel. Pay attention. We are so conditioned and so used to feeling bad that we don't even feel bad feeling bad anymore. People will watch horrible movies, horrible shows to feel bad and cry. Well, if that's you and you want to be successful, you're never going to get anywhere because that's a low vibration. You need to be addicted to feeling good, to loving life. Shut the news off, shut social media off, focus on your dreams and goals, condition your mind with positive. Listen to an audiobook every morning before you go to work. That's what I did. The Science of Getting Rich. Listen to it morning, night on the way home because you turn on the radio, it takes over your focus. And then what you see and what you hear is what you then create in your reality. So I would condition my mind with The Secret, The Science of Getting Rich audiobooks. I'd show up excited, positive, and guess what kind of day I created versus listening to doomsday radio back when I used to commute that many years ago. What kind of day would I have created? Right? That feeling would have been yuck by the time I finished listening to that on the way to work. My result would have been yuck because my actions would have been lackluster, fear. What's the point? If you look at the news nowadays, what is the point of even trying? The world's going to end. That's what it seems like. Shut that off. Guard your mind. Guard your mind. Treat yourself like you are a top level CEO or an Olympian. Olympians do not let garbage come into their mind because sports are a mindset game as much as they are physical. The next one, talk to the Olympians about this. They don't eat garbage food and they sleep. And you're like, whoa, Tracy, you're a real buzzkill. Well, do it this way. Food into your body is energy. It feeds your cells. Think of eating a Big Mac, fries, whatever, a Whopper, name them all so I don't get sued. And then it comes into your body and hurts your stomach, and then you're sick and you feel yucky, and it's like, ugh. Or let's say you go out drinking and you have a hangover and you're depressed and you have a bad vibe for 3 days. You just killed your energy. And if you want to be a creator of your life and you want to attract money energy, why are you dropping your energy with poor food that makes you sick? Liquor, drugs, not being a preacher here. But when I started my journey and I said, I want to be a successful business owner that controlled my financial destiny, I got the Olympian mindset. I said, wow, if I want to make money, you need to almost focus on money and business and skill and success like an Olympian focuses on their sport. I need to treat my body like it's a vessel because it is. It allows my thoughts and beliefs. It creates my energy and it takes me from point A to point B to create results. This is your temple. So if you really want to do well in life, don't be shoving in bonbons and all this garbage. Eat clean. Sorry, this is not the Food Boss channel, but when we're talking about vibration and energy, what you put in your mouth, what you put in your mind through your ears, your eyes, onto your skin, what you drink, that all affects the vibration of your body because it's all cells. It all reacts to whatever you put in. Drops your vibe, and a drop vibe, like we've discussed, is poor results. Excuse me, sorry. Set goals, condition your mind daily, own your focus, gratitude. Gratitude in doing things you love. Here's a trick. You can't be in two states at once. You can't be unhappy and grateful. Interesting hack, isn't it? So when I find myself doing some stinking thinking, I go, okay, what can I be grateful about? And it doesn't matter. As long as you're alive, that's enough to be grateful for. Even if you don't love your life, you are alive and not the alternative. If we look around, sure, we might not have the money, the house, the car, the spouse, the clothes, the kids, whatever. There's always going to be something missing. But the trick to getting those things is having the vibration of creation, of money energy in order to attract what we want and not what we don't want. So if you are doing stinking thinking, like I said, what I do if I am just in a bad vibe, go, okay, what can I be grateful for? Thank you for the sun. Thank you for the day. Thank you for my skill set. Thank you for my friends, my family, my house that keeps me warm, the clothes on my back, the food in my stomach. That is my ritual of what I say. And it's not a religious thing. It's non-denominational. You can do a prayer, you can do gratitude, but immediately you will realize, I got chills doing that. Immediately you'll notice that you're not doing stinking thinking because you can't hold two thoughts at once. If you sit there and think everything poor, you can't have good thoughts. Biggest life hack, gratitude. Do things you love. YOLO. We're all going to pass away one day. Life doesn't need to be a struggle. And if you can do things you love, you tap into flow, you increase your vibration, you get a great energy. And that is what success, your dreams, money is attracted to. And from there, really, I'm not even going to get into making money because that's 100 other videos. In order to make good money, you need to become the person that knows how to make good money, the person that thinks with right thought, has the right feeling, takes action because you know you need to, and then you get the results. And then from there, like I said, you're going around, and it's just a matter of experimenting, right? And realizing that if you do this, this happens. That is the energy of money. I said it a few times. I wanted to do this channel like 20 years ago, but no way was I ready. That's when I was starting my business journey. And then to be honest, when I started my podcast and video show for my media company, I wanted to do this show, but I wasn't ready. I had been in business 10 years already, but these last 7 years have been the most critical for my development and learning what I've actually been doing so I could teach it. Before that, I just knew I was getting myself in the right vibration. 7 years ago, I'm like, how do I explain this to people? I didn't have the words. I didn't know how to teach it. And to be honest, I wasn't ready. The last 7 years have been the most important hustle years in my business, allowing me to become a money boss so that I could actually walk the walk and talk the talk and have created money, not just selling you a manifesting course because I read a book, right? I've been through the trenches. I know this through and through to the every ounce, every molecule of my body. I know money frequency and how to build a business and how to build my dream life. Now I can teach it. And we're here. And I want to create a money revolution. If you like this episode, like it, share it, and get it out there so other people can hear this content that has changed my life. This isn't me. This is coming through me. I fully believe it from my lessons through divine guidance, if you want to call it that. I am here to bring you these ideas and lessons, the energy, so that you can step into your personal power, make more money, build the life of your dreams. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.